Welcome back, Star Wars fans. It's another episode of Coruscant Radio Underground. I'm going to keep this real brief because I am very, very tired, but I really didn't want to be spoiled on that new episode of Andor, the finale. So I'm just going to jump in and talk about it real quick. I will say, first of all, this is going to be very non spoilery because obviously it just dropped and I don't want to put anything out there that spoils anything. We will be doing our full spoiler review on Sunday at 7 o'clock Central Time, so 8 o'clock Eastern. But I did just want to jump in here real quick and say that that is one of the best finales to anything I've watched lately. And I'm saying this obviously if you've been watching along with us, um, you know that I didn't really love this show. Really, through the first 7 episodes, I was complaining about the pacing and some of the writing. And hey, Nick, thanks for jumping in. I'm just going to talk. It's going to be real short, but I'm gonna hang out here for just a few minutes, and definitely going to be no spoilers here. Um, from episode 8 through this finale, it's some of the best TV I've watched lately. It is probably some of the best writing that we've ever seen in Star Wars, specifically with dialogue. The dialogue in these through from episode 8 through the finale is all very, very top notch. And I really don't have a problem with the dialogue writing before that. I just had pacing issues. I was honestly bored with this show through most of the first 7 episodes. Um, this finale is great. It wraps up a whole bunch of storylines. It really it does a lot to tie pieces together and launch us into whatever they've got in store for season 2. I wasn't sure how they would handle that as far as a I really was kind of skeptical they would have anything that would be a big kind of crazy cliffhanger, because that just didn't seem like this show's style. But I think what they did really, um, it really gives us something to look forward to. It sets a lot of new wheels in motion. It's going to be really interesting. And if you happen to see this before you watch, there is an after credit scene. So stick around through the credits or fast forward through the credits or whatever you got to do there. But there is an after credit scene. Overall, I'm real happy for a spy thriller that really didn't start off with a lot of thrills. I think the last 5 episodes, I think the show really found itself. I hope that we don't spend a whole lot of time doing a lot of reestablishing when we come back. I don't know. I know that they're supposed to already be filming this. I hope that we're only looking like a year out, since so many of the set pieces are built. I know it's possible that we're looking at 2 years, given the way that things have been working over at Lucasfilm on pacing. So I've already got Rings of Power that we're having to wait 2 years for, at least 2 years for season 2. I really hope we don't have to wait. This show took so long to really pick up the momentum that I thought that it needed. I'd really hate to see it take that long. Um, Episode 3 is good. Episode 6 is good. It was just the what it took to get there. And if you took the first 3 episodes, it's like, okay, fine. That's great. And I remember when we reviewed episode 3, I said, "Oh, that was great. Did a lot of cool stuff. We finally got some action. The pacing picked up a little bit, but I really hope that when we see episode 4 that we don't have to start over and kind of redo the do a whole new setup." And then we went back and they spent all of episode 4 and 5 setting up episode 6. I really felt like episode 7's kind of its own thing. It's maybe even my least favorite episode. But really, once we roll into episode 8, it really took off. And um, I feel like it really never stopped. I feel like the pacing, what started at 8, built and built and built and builds right through this. I'm absolutely thrilled with the ending. Yeah, I think that episode 1 and 2, Nick, I think made a really, um I think episode 1 and 2 should have been 1 episode, and episode 4 and 5 should have been 1 episode. I completely agree there if that's what you're saying. I think that's what you're saying. Um, I think I made some comments about that back when we reviewed them. It just seemed like you were stretching things out. I think episode 5 was the biggest offender there, where you set up a bunch of plot points in episode 4, and then we went back to when we got to episode 5, you basically just circled all the same story points. You just kinda, like, reiterated everything that was in 4. I felt like episode 5 just did not add a whole lot to the story. Um, this was fantastic finale. I really, really liked this show. This elevated a lot for me. You know, when it picked up. Had Nick, I see you liked 8 through 10. Did you not like episode 11, or have you not watched it yet? Um, but obviously this is something we don't usually do, is hop on here in the middle of the night and talk about things. But I thought I'd try something new since I was up and I've been drinking caffeine, so I'm awake. Um, but and I don't want to say a whole lot. I'm not going to talk about it much because I will spoil something if I keep talking. So I'm not going to hang out and discuss this too long. But I do think that this finale was everything that I could have wanted in a finale. Yeah, I honestly think that if this had been 10 episodes and you had reduced 1 and 2 and 4 and 5 into single episodes, that would have gone a long ways towards helping the way people felt about the show. Episode 11 was slower. I will admit that. Um, it slowed down a little. I felt like they did the same thing. I don't know that you've watched Rings of Power yet, or if you're going to, but episode like 2 episodes before the finale, they had this huge moment, and we all kind of went, "Well, how do you do a finale after that?" And it's almost like you did something so kind of big in, that episode, that the next one you almost had to come down a little bit. I feel like this show did the same thing. I don't know how I feel about that. I think that the real catch for me in episode 11, that there was enough cool stuff in there. And of course, I thought, Luthen's ship was the most, for lack of a better word, the most Star Warsy thing that we saw through um, the whole show. Although I felt like we got a little more of that kind of stuff. I think we got some really good stuff in this episode that I really liked, that felt a little more familiar. But I think a lot of people are really going to like this. I think this finale, for the people that quit giving this show a chance, just skip ahead to episode 8. If you were watching, you got to 5, or, 3 or 4 or 5, and you just couldn't do it anymore, just skip ahead to 8. And it's like I said, 8 through 10 by itself could have been trimmed down to a movie and would be a really good movie all by itself. Episode 11 was a little bit of a reset, but I thought there was some good stuff in it, and this finale is fantastic. There was not a moment where I felt like things were lagging. If anything, it just was a race to the finish line. So I think this finale is going to go over really well and help to elevate people's overall opinion of the series. But I'm going to go ahead. Let's see. Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's where the show finds itself, is in episode 8. I hope we don't go backwards in pacing when we come around to the next season, whenever we get that. But I'm going to go ahead and jump off of here before I spoil something. But I just wanted to say, be sure to stay through those credits, because there is a fun little after credit scene in there. Um, that I think a lot of people will appreciate because it touches on a major talking point throughout this season. So even though it doesn't really affect the story, it was a cool little talking point that they answered. So I didn't think they would. But anyway, I'm gonna jump off here and I'm gonna go to sleep. Nick, thank you for hanging out here in the chat with me for a minute, and I hope you enjoy the episode when you get a chance to watch it. All right, guys. You can find me running the Twitter account for this show at sci_fictionary. As always, you can find our podcast, as well as all of the rest of the Red 5 podcast family at Red 5 Network on Twitter. And until next time, may the force be with you.
This podcast is a member of the Red 5 Network. For more Red 5 Network podcasts and content creators, visit bio.link/Red5.